And that's actually something I want to touch a little bit more upon. Is like when you were, you talk about in the book how you struggled with depression and suicide and you were broke. How did you how were you able to like climb out of that hole, like look towards the positive and like rebuild yourself over and over again?
Yeah, I think I mean, I just remember there was like a couple of times, but all years and years apart, I would be so not only just depressed but scared. Like, oh my gosh, I lost everything. I had millions and now I have zero, and it's my own fault. I always take personal responsibility. I would never. I remember one time I lost everything. It's the very first time I went broke, and I was losing my home, and I was scared to death. Like it was the dot com bubble had burst, and I had cash. It wasn't like I lost all this money on paper. I had cashed out. I did everything smart, and then I started investing, thinking, oh, this internet is not going anywhere. It's going to be huge, and I didn't know what I was doing. This is 20 years ago, and I lost everything and then some. And I lost my home. I lost everything, and I was just so crushed and depressed and suicidal. And I remember, um, my wife at the time was saying to me, and this wasn't a bad suggestion. Many people did this, but she was saying to me, "Why don't you? Maybe you should sue your broker. Like, shouldn't your stockbroker have told you not to do all these things?" And I said, "No way. It's always my fault. I cannot ever blame someone else because taking whether it's your fault or not, taking responsibility is definitely the best way to learn and the best way to avoid making those mistakes in the future. And what was I going to make from a lawsuit? Like there are some people who spend their lives in courts, and that's I've never been in a courtroom in my entire life, and I'm much happier as a result for that. But the way I came back, I remember that first time. It was when I was always taking these long walks because I had nothing else to do, and I ran into a restaurant supply store, and I just saw this box of waiters pads actually that I could buy for $10, 100 waiters pads, and I liked the form factor of them. I liked how they looked. I liked that they could fit in my pocket. And so I started taking them out with me, these waiters pads, and writing these. I would read a little and then I'd write these ideas. And somehow just connecting the dots in my brain, I don't know, must have released dopamine or something. Like I was happier. And that would help me coming up with new ideas and then starting to execute them on them. That would make me happy, even if I was still dead broke. And, uh, just if I felt like I was accomplishing things, I felt like I was getting smarter, and I felt like I was starting to have ideas that could have impact in the world, even though most ideas were bad ideas. And I guess that would start it off. But also, very important to not be physically ill, because you can't be creative if you're sick in bed. Very important to not have toxic relationships, and because again, you can't be creative if you're arguing with your spouse or friends or coworkers or whatever. So all of these things are important, like writing ideas down. um, Not, you also have to have it's okay to regret the past, but you can't dwell on the regrets or anxieties about the future. Like you have to kind of surrender to what you can't control. Like it's too bad I lost millions of dollars, but it happened. I can't go back in time, and I got to just focus on physical health, creative health, emotional health, and every time I think to myself, "Oh, I'm depressed, I'm suicidal," I've just got to get back to these things, and that's the only way to climb out of this. And I will climb out of it. Like now I've done it enough, and I've seen other people do it, that I know for a fact, even every time, even now. So because I don't get a paycheck for anything I do, some projects work, some don't. Whenever a project doesn't work out and I'm upset about it, I know immediately I just got to get back to doing what I do, writing ideas down, sharing those ideas, spending time with people I love, and being physically healthy, and trying to not control the things that are not in my control.
Yeah. So just a couple of things I noticed there is like you have that kind of extreme ownership mindset, like that Jocko Willink has, like everything is my fault, take responsibility. And because it is your responsibility, that means you could change it with your actions, like such as coming up with ideas and pursuing those ideas, and also focusing on like the fundamentals, like you said, physical health, mental health, and all of those things, and like slowly, like you build yourself up, and you're able to like rebuild yourself, which is really cool. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Reader's Journey. You can learn more about what was covered in today's podcast in the show notes below. If you enjoyed this podcast, the best way you can support it is by subscribing and leaving a positive review. If you're looking for reading tips or book recommendations, head over to alexandbooks.com. If you want to join my reading journey, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter by searching for Alex and Books. That's all for now. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope to see you soon. Read on, everyone.